What is going on, everybody? And in this video, I'll be taking a look at the Plymouth Road Runner Verde edition, which is going to be the one from this story recently this past week, which I will leave a tag on the screen for, and a link in the description below. So I have been testing this car out a little bit, and I'm not even gonna lie, it has no right being as good as it is. My goodness, I really don't know what happened here. I ended up taking this car for a test drive, and it completely blew my mind with how good this thing actually is. I mean, not only does it handle well, but the speed and overall stability is just mind-blowingly good on this car for being a lowrider. Now, I know the Plymouth is a very good car in this game, and my goodness, the lowrider is no exception. I would even go as far as saying this might be one of the coolest cars they've added in the stories and in general in this game in a while, and their performance to back it up as well. I mean, this car is definitely really good, and honestly, you really would not expect it when looking at it, but this car really looks like it just came out of Benny's workshop in GTA Online, and you're just taking it for a cruise. The hydraulics on the car really aren't that great, but I really don't think that's going to matter too much. It really is worth going after in the story. Now, when it comes to customization, there's really not much of anything you can do to it because, well, I mean, the car's already heavily customized. But anyway, let's go get an outside look of this car and do a top speed run because I really want to see what it can do, and then we have to take this car into a race. Now, taking an outside look at the new Plymouth Lowrider, we can all definitely agree that this car is going to probably be used a lot more often than the other ones. I mean, just the overall look. Let's hear this thing. Sounds absolutely amazing as well, and I just think they did a wonderful job with the design. Let's take a look at the interior, which I actually really like what they did with that as well. They actually did detail of the interior very nicely. You can see a little back view as well of the lowrider thing back there. Now, just in case you guys might have been wondering, you can also use the hydraulics on this car as well, similar to the other lowriders. I personally don't really see a point of doing this, but you could do it with the analog stick as well, bring up the front of the car just like that, and then also the back of the vehicle as well. Obviously, the hydraulics don't work as good as I think they do in like GTA, but I think you might be able to adjust the settings a little bit if you guys want to mess with that. You can also do wheelies with the car as well if you really want to. Kind of hilarious, but nonetheless, this car is very impressive with just stock as it is without using the hydraulics. For being a lowrider, I honestly was not expecting this car to be as good as it is, and you also get the hydraulics like a little added edge to the vehicle as well for like more uniqueness, and it kind of makes this thing fun to mess around with. Now let's go do a top speed run because I want to see what this car can actually get to. It really does make me laugh the fact that a lowrider is actually this good, and I really wasn't expecting it after driving like the RX-8 Gold Edition or even the GT4 Wasp Edition or some of the other cars, even like the Superleggera. I actually feel like this car generally could be used on summits and stuff, and I might actually have to test it out on future summits because it's actually very impressive getting up to speed here. One thing I also noticed, guys, is the car is luckily a 5-speed as well, so you're not going to really mess with that too much if you do like driving manual because the 4-speeds are something else sometimes. But now using nitrous, I'm cruising here at 220, which I was having issues with some of the other vehicles getting to this speed. I noticed some cars actually do struggle with holding speed, which could definitely be an issue. Now, I did notice the Plymouth's acceleration might not be the greatest, but luckily Nitro Chemist basically fixes that issue, and how this car actually handles is just amazing, honestly. Now, here's a top speed run. Let's see what this car can get to. So 249 to 250 miles an hour is crazy. Now, do keep in mind, depending on the road, the car might be a little faster or slower. I did notice that as well when testing these out a little bit. But 250 miles an hour is insane considering it's faster than most of the other cars, including some of these Summit Reward vehicles. So jumping into a street race here with the new Plymouth Road Runner. Now, like I was saying before, guys, this car really is mind-blowing with how good it actually is. I was not expecting performance like this out of a lowrider, and this is one of those vehicles I recommend doing the story for because this thing is well worth it. Now, the big question is, I'm sure many people are wondering, can you actually use this thing on summits and like future racing or like competitive racing? And honestly, I would definitely pick this car for summits. I might actually use it in the future. I mean, look how this thing actually turns. It doesn't struggle. It doesn't like lose its speed or mess up or certain things. Like, look at this. Look at that stability on these turns. Like, that is insanely impressive for what it is. Like, look at that. No issues at all. The car didn't understeer or oversteer. Like, it is very impressive on how this thing actually drives. And I gotta admit, I'm not really a huge fan of lowriders, although I was kind of enjoying the DLC on GTA back in the day when they added all the lowriders. They were pretty cool to customize and all that. I do really respect the builds on those. This thing is definitely a very cool vehicle to have in the game. And I know the other lowriders are probably not used that often, which I don't really blame you all too much on. I mean, using the one in the Summit was kind of interesting. I really wasn't liking that thing too much. I do think that will change now with this new car being in the game. I really do feel like the story is well worth going after to get this car. I mean, it's just really fun to use, and if you guys actually wanted something different to use in summits to mix it up a little bit in the street class, this is definitely a car I highly recommend trying out. I mean, it is actually pretty impressive. Now, like I was mentioning, the speed on the car probably isn't that great overall like that. What I mean by that is the acceleration could be a little bit better, but luckily having Nitro Chemist on your vehicle probably helps solve that issue there. If you guys are using this car just straight with no Nitro Chemist or anything, it might definitely be a bit of an issue compared to some of the other street cars, but having nitrous on there will definitely make this this thing very competitive, and I just cannot believe how this car actually turns this drop of gear here. Like, look at that. No issues at all around that turn, doing over 120 miles an hour. It's just absolutely insane, and the thing looks really good while doing it. I really do wonder what Ubisoft is going to do in the future with the updates and all that, because I would love to see, you know, stories and all that again, maybe something similar, maybe a little different. I just think they were pretty cool. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below on those, because this is by far probably my favorite vehicle they've added as a story vehicle so far in the game. I mean, it's just very fun to use. Wasn't a big fan of that plane that was at. It wasn't bad, but I just wasn't really feeling that too much, and most people really don't use planes that much unless they have to. Most people want like a hypercar or something like this in the street class that's actually usable. They can use on summits, or they can use on other things to like level different, you know, classes up or get better parts, and all that is something everyone's going for, and that is definitely something I think they should look at, because this car is very, very cool. Anyway, guys, I highly recommend you take a look at the Plymouth Lowrider. You would definitely not regret it. This car is very fun to use, and with the hydraulics, it kind of adds like a little like hilarious feature to this vehicle, I think. I mean, a lot of people probably won't use it too much, but you can use it when going around turns. And this car is just, the handling and overall stability and the driving ability of this car is just insanely impressive. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I highly recommend trying out my pro settings on the Plymouth Lowrider, because this car is definitely insanely fun to use, and it's also kind of hilarious with these hydraulics.